Oh my God, my mic has been off, hasn't it? My mic has been off. Oh, well, how thank you for letting me know. I've just literally just looked at the messages now. I'm so sorry. Hopefully you should be able to hear me now. I don't know how it got turned off. Anyway, I'll start again. Um as you may be aware, if you've been watching the news, especially with anything surrounding reform, you'll be aware at the tremendous amount of media allegations that have been made to people. The most recent one is against the candidate called Mark Matlock from who was standing somewhere in London, and the allegation was that he wasn't a real candidate and he was artificially intelligence created. This is where it gets ridiculous, and it gets to the point where should there not be some redress against this sort of behavior? It's not actually possible for a fake candidate, as in a candidate who doesn't exist, to stand in the first place, because in order to stand, you must complete what's called nomination forms, and those nomination forms need 10 signatures of people who live in your constituency, and you need to take them to the council with identification, and then they go through the 10 signatures. They ask you for their address. They check, confirm that each one exists and is on the electoral register, and then they once they approve everything, then you can submit your nomination papers, and you are then officially a parliamentary candidate. It's not possible for someone who doesn't exist to do that. It is possible for somebody to do it under false pretenses, i.e., a candidate, especially with a new party like Reform, who was taking in candidates in large numbers, which doesn't happen with the other parties, because the election was called quickly and they wanted to field candidates everywhere. So it is possible that a candidate may have stood with ill intentions. There was one, for example, again down in London, who appeared 1 or 2 days before nominations close. She was determined to stand, stated her case, she was accepted, submitted her nomination, and then 2 or 3 days before the election, she made allegations against other members who she had never met, because once the election begins, candidates don't have time to attend different meetings or meet each other. She hadn't met anyone, so she made all of these allegations and then threw her support behind the Conservative Party. Does that seem fishy or not? That's different to this case with, I've forgotten his name now, Mark Matlock, who actually became ill and couldn't attend the count. So the media came up with this story that he wasn't real and he was AI generated. But it turns out, of course, he's a real candidate. He's been interviewed on GB News just today. He actually had pneumonia. But anyone in the media who is a political correspondent would know that that allegation wasn't true. But they get it out there, they create negative publicity. And the problem is, even if they take their article down, people on social media continue to repeat this nonsense. And that is just one of many things that have been put out there by the media, in particular against candidates for the Reform Party, because they were clearly a threat to the main two parties. And as you may be aware, if you looked at the election, the Conservative Party suffered in particular because of Reform, and quite rightly so, after the way that they have behaved. I also had something like this happen to me, where I was alleged to have tweeted anti-Semitic posts maybe 8 years ago. In the middle of my campaign, I am contacted by a reporter. I knew that I used to post news at that time, so your initial reaction is, I don't remember posting this. Oh my God, how did it get there? You go and delete everything. And it only dawned on me afterwards that the account I used to post news on wasn't in my name, and that the account I use in my name isn't that old. So something is amiss there. But they managed to get this out. They got it out through the election. People on social media then repeat it with all sorts of offensive material, and for the main part, everybody saw through it. So all it did was give me publicity, but it's not the point. This shouldn't be the way that we fight campaigns, and the media should bear more responsibility for their actions, because I noticed this was the first time I stood in an election. I noticed that not one member of the media contacted me to ask me for an interview or my thoughts about a particular issue. I was invited to two radio hustings, one on the BBC radio and one on a local independent radio. Both were conducted very professionally. I won't criticise, but I'm of the opinion that if you have hustings or a debate, especially when an election is looming, a debate that's going to last an hour with 4 or 5 questions is not a debate, because a question is asked, each of the candidates makes a quick fire remark. The other candidates may have a few seconds to come back with a response, then you move on to the next question. It's hardly a debate. I'm of the opinion that a debate should be at least an hour on one topic: the NHS, education, crime, immigration, whatever the topic may be. But not one local reporter was interested in anything to do with these things. As a local councillor, as someone who's championed homelessness for years, long before I had anything to do with either being a councillor or standing, not one of them has agreed to speak to me. I have made it clear that how passionate I am about homelessness and ending homelessness, and the fact that nobody should be homeless, but they don't actually care. All they care about is trying to find something to throw at you to create a fog so that people don't see the policies. In reality, where we're concerned, where reform was concerned, it backfired on them, because all they did was generate more and more and more publicity. Indeed, I would argue they may very well have added to the wind in our sails through the campaign, but it's not the point. This is not how it should be fought. And ultimately, the people who lose are the public. It doesn't matter who the public vote for, but what does matter is that they have, as best as possible, an informed opinion about who they are going to vote for and why. And quite frankly, the media just create too much fog. I wouldn't even call it fog, I'd call it smog, because it's filthy and it is disgraceful, because no wonder the public is becoming even more disengaged with politics than ever. Wouldn't it be better if the media focused on what the candidates stand for, what they want to fight for, what their plans are to improve things or fix things, or change things in all of these issues that concern everyday people every day, but they don't. Because I fervently believe that if we discuss things properly, then the public would engage more. And if they decide to think, well, no, I don't like what Anthony suggests about homelessness, but I do like what Joe Bloggs suggests, fine. That's how it should be. That is democracy. This is not democracy. This is just a to race to the bottom of the pit. And they really have been clutching at straws over the last few weeks, and they've not done politics in general in this country any good whatsoever. And the evidence is, as you can see, we have a government in power with more than 2/3 of the seats in Parliament, and yet they received 1/3 of the vote. That is not democracy. That is a sham. That is not a government that is representative of the people. This is literally a political stopgap that will fall apart, because it does not have the mandate on and support of the majority. It's understandable after 14 years of of Conservatives and the way that they behaved, that many people would be voting against them. And polls do show that many people who did vote Labour weren't voting for Labour because they supported their policies. They were voting to get the Tories out, which is fine. People are free to cast their vote any way they wish, but people must have the opportunity to be better informed about candidates rather than just be lost in a media frenzy of lies and smearing and just people, the media, throwing mud to see what is going to stick. And as I said, the problem is, in my case, two or three of the articles were taken down after I responded. Not all, but two or three. But what went up was enough to encourage individuals on social media to be passing around misinformation, which you can't do anything about. Am I going to waste my time and energy trying to pursue individuals on social media? I won't bother with it. It's really not worth my time. And I know that everybody who knows me and everybody who voted for me and everybody who supports me locally could see straight through it. But that's not the point. The point is that there were issues I would have loved to discuss and convey my thoughts and my opinions to the public, and I struggled to do so through all of this nonsense. Let me just check your questions. Hello, Mustafa. How are you? Thank you for joining me. It's just a quick one. I just wanted to have a little rant about the mud being thrown in the media. So, anyway, I believe that if we are going to improve things, that we need to stand against this abuse of power by mainstream media, because, as I said, they get an article out there, whatever it may be, an allegation. And if an apology comes, as you know, the apology doesn't get anywhere near the publicity that the initial article actually received. Not to mention the fact that the apology is normally something that's handed out in passing that nobody would really notice, just to cover themselves for the law, but it's not really an apology because they are not making any effort to make amends for their disgraceful behavior. Where I'm concerned, it was all new to me, so it took me by surprise. Now I can simply laugh at it because it's par for the course. And ultimately, where I'm concerned, I live in Kingsthorpe in Northampton. I'm here, and I stood to do what I could for the people of Northampton. I can continue to do that even as a local councillor. There's lots of things that I am doing anyway, but it's a shame because people who stand, especially when they're new, are blameless, ordinary people who are stepping out onto the ledge, putting themselves in the firing line to try to do something good for their country, whichever end of the political spectrum they are. It is all people who, in their own opinion, are fighting for what they think would be best. It's just that everybody has a different opinion as to which route we take to get there. But we need to be able to express ourselves, and we need the public to understand what we stand for so that people can make an informed decision and not simply be manipulated by a biased media. That is wrong, because that is not a democracy. That is manipulation on a grand scale, and it's immoral. Thank you for everything. UK need people like you. Please never give up for us, the UK. Thank you very, very much. I don't intend to. Will you be standing again in 2029? And how do you feel the result in Northampton North went? By 2029, if I am privileged enough to be asked to stand, I would love to, despite the fact that it was all new and quite stressful and turned my life upside down, but never mind. So it all depends. As it stands, how it works is now officially, I suppose, I'm a supporter of the Reform Party. whether I will be asked to be a candidate come the next election. And I don't think it will be 2029, to be honest. I actually think we'll have an election sooner than that, because I can't see this lot just lasting that long. They are actually perfectly placed for a perfect political storm, because there are so many things that are going to happen all at the same time. Their majority in many of their seats is wafer thin. There are many X factors, but whenever that may be, whether it's 2029 or next year or a by-election, then should I be privileged enough to be asked, I would love to stand again, but I won't know until that time comes. And in the words of Nigel Farage, by that time, there may be somebody younger, better, and better looking, who the party would like. But that's not going to make any difference to what I'm doing now, because now I'm continue to and remain as a parish councillor here in Kingsthorpe. I'm taking steps to help the community with the increase in crime. I'm going out to a meeting in a little while, but with regards to that, I will continue to try to fight to help people who are homeless. I would have loved to have had the larger voice of an MP, because I'm sure that I would have been able to achieve more, but there you go. That's not my choice. But I will continue to champion that, because I cannot rest easy with the thought that people are sleeping on the streets. I am not comfortable. That's the wrong word, not comfortable. I am outraged that we have throughout the country veterans who are sleeping on the streets, people with psychological problems, people with health issues, people whose lives just went pff, and that can happen to anybody. The demographic of people sleeping on the streets has changed. Your it is not your stereotypical person who is out homeless. Many of the new homeless are people who had nice homes and nice lives, but life went wrong. It can happen to anyone. And the vast majority of the population, or a large portion, is only weeks or months away from homelessness. And yet we have our own citizens sleeping in the streets, and we take criminals and we put them in hotels and give them a phone and give them money. That is fundamentally wrong. And I will continue to fight for these things in any way that I can. It just means that my voice is not as loud politically, but I can make sure that my voice is loud in other ways. And as for the result, I think I did well. I think I did very well. I would have liked to have won. I would have liked to have stood for Northampton. It was really important to me for all the reasons that I have said. It was daunting, and it was a major step at my age to give up my sort of quiet, reclusive form of life and step out there on the ledge. But I was standing for the reasons that you are aware of. Um, and I started from a standing start. A snap election was called, which hindered my ability to actually speak to everybody. There was no way from a standing start, with no campaign team, with nobody, that I was going to get round and actually get to campaign and speak to everybody in Northampton North. I could not get around 40 or 50,000 houses. It would have just been impossible in that time. If you consider that the Labour Party, with their immense funds and a big team and their support, have been campaigning in this area for 18 months. So taking all that into account, as I said, I started from zero. I did get quite a lot of traction online. In fact, I think I got more online than anywhere else. And then I began to hold open meetings. And from there, I made myself available, if you're watching, many times during the day locally, for people to actually meet me in person. So I'd made set aside a couple of hours at different pubs or places around the constituency so people could come and meet me, which they did. But that's still only a fraction of the total number of registered voters. And once I got going, some very, very nice people did come forward and offer to help and deliver flyers for me, and so on and so forth. Had the election have been in November, where we had expected it, throughout this period, I had planned to gradually work my way around everyone, hold several meetings so people could get to know me. But there you go. Rishi, for reasons best known to himself, decided to drop this on us, and I don't know why, because effectively it didn't do the Conservatives any favour either. Uh, hold rallies in different towns. I would like to. I would like to. In fact, to be honest, what I would have liked to have done, I don't know where you're from, if you're from Northampton or not. Assuming you're from Northampton, um, our market square is closed at the moment because it's being repaved and everything. It's going to be open again in September. But we do have some open places in Northampton, like in front of All Saints Church, for example, in front of the town hall. I would have liked to have literally stood on a soapbox with a loudspeaker there and held a public meeting. But after the abuse that not just we had as reform, but I had as a reform candidate, I do have to say that I had to have eyes in the back of my head. Um, several times, I literally ran into people who, I won't say that they were violent or threatening, but I felt uncomfortable and I just left the area. I felt intimidated, and I'm not Nigel Farage. I don't have access to his security and all of his team. So what worried me is, if I did have something like that in a public place, what if people came specifically just to cause trouble? Or even worse, what if people came purporting to be reform candidates, supporters, just to actually blurt out bile for the benefit of the media? So I didn't want to risk that happening. So I had my meetings in closed, safe places. But given the opportunity in the future, I would have liked that. Probably in a more in a place where the crowd could be controlled. We do have some locations. We've got the county cricket club. We've got places like that that do have an outdoor space. If it's winter, if it's summer, of course. If not, a large indoor venue. But definitely, I would like to be able to speak to the people. And sadly, um, I was all new to it, and by the time I became really comfortable to speak to people, it was all over. But I do have to say that when you connect with people, when you take on board their concerns and their issues, and many people out there are unhappy about many things, and to be honest, having seen all of the emails that have come in and the questionnaires on my site that were completed, most people's concerns are very similar. Fundamental concerns: access to healthcare, education, crime, housing, homelessness, etc. And once once I began to receive a lot of feedback from people, and I knew what their concerns were, um, it was absolutely amazing to be able to stand there and express my thoughts and what I would do about it, and have all of this support. I do have to say, it was the most wonderful life experience, despite everything else. And I would be hugely privileged to have that opportunity again in the future. Uh, why are my comments being deleted? I've done nothing wrong. Um, Nobody's deleted your comments. I haven't deleted any comments at all. I haven't deleted any comments. So I don't know why that's happened. All I'm doing, I'm not even on. I'm not sure where you're commenting, whether you're commenting on YouTube or Facebook. But I'm actually not. I'm on neither. I'm using Restream, and the comments just come in from there. And all I do is click on them to show them on the screen. I'll take a look at it and see what's happening. But that no comments should be deleted. I've never deleted anything. Um, so I'm sorry to hear that. I don't delete any comments at all, even if they're not favourable. So I do apologise, and I always look out for you because you join regularly, and I always respond to you. I actually show all comments on the screen. I try to work my way through all of them if I have time. Um, so moving forward, I do believe that what's important now is to fight back against unfounded allegations to keep the momentum going. We have massive support. We came from nowhere to get over 4 million votes. And I believe that it is possible to build on that significantly. And sorry, what was this? YouTube AI algorithm. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm so sorry about that. I had no clue. But I'll try and find out why. Because it shouldn't happen. They should all be there. Um, and I think that we should continue momentum. I would like to to be involved in anything that supports um, maintaining the traction that we have, whether it's meetings, whether it's groups, whether it's online. I'm always happy to meet people. Next year, in between now and next year, what we need to do is we need to push to find candidates to stand for local councillors in the elections next year everywhere. We have time now. Let's do it properly. If you have any interest in standing as a local councillor for Reform UK, then go to Reform UK website and you can quickly apply online. And there's plenty of time now to build a campaign team, to have your support, to state your case properly, and that will give us a very good foundation for the next election. And let's hope that the current administration does last until the local elections next year, because I see trouble ahead. Uh, I've had tens of thousands of comments deleted over the years, especially if it's going against the mainstream narrative. Yeah, same here. I have entire videos taken down. I'm really careful about what I say. Not that I say anything bad, um, but I am noticing that this is getting worse and worse, and that really concerns me. And the problem is, what do you do? There are other platforms like Rumble, but it's not easy to get people to move to a different platform. People stay with the platforms that they're used to, be it Facebook, be it YouTube, or be it Twitter or X. So, unfortunately, um, they can manipulate what we see and what is said. They can delete comments and then leave other comments out of context. um, it's really worrying, to be honest. But this is the world that we are in now, and we are increasingly heading towards a world of virtual realism, and we just don't know what's true and what isn't, what is reality and what is fake. And that's a very sinister place to for us to be heading towards. Is media smears election interference, which needs to be fully investigated? I believe that it is. I believe that it is. Um, but it's very difficult, especially if you represent a voice that contradicts the narrative. And as I've said many times before, with anything where there is there is suspicion, you always need to follow the money. You need to follow the money with mainstream media. Follow who they support and why they support them, or who is influencing them and why. And we know what is going on out there. We know, but unfortunately for them, or fortunately, uh, it is only Reform who are speaking out against it. But unfortunately for us, that makes us the political minority fighting against the rotten political majority, and they will do anything that they can. Hence the reason that you never ever heard the two main parties in any debate, in their manifestos, anywhere actually address issues which relate to where vast sums of our money is going. They basically squabbled on details, on minor details that are irrelevant, that won't have any effect on our lives, and they blow these minor issues into major policy issues to lead us to believe that they are fighting for us. They're not fighting for us. They are sold to the globalists. And as Nigel Farage has said, we have not elected a prime minister and a cabinet in this election. We have elected new middle managers, and they don't answer to you and I, they answer to the globalists. And this is the situation that we are in. And in terms of time, I believe that this is a race against time before anybody who speaks against the globalists will be shut down forever, and there will be no way to speak out against them. They are causing all of the issues that we are facing. They are behind nurturing everything from just stop oil to net zero to so many causes that are used to divide us, to create this sense of a climate emergency, to divide people, to blow issues like trans issues out of all proportion, to basically turn our society on its head. So we are too busy wrapped up in all of this nonsense to actually see what these people, members of the WEF, are doing to us globally, because they are determined to destroy the structure of Western society and move it forward to their vision of a sort of a stakeholder society. And they will go to any lengths to make that happen. And anybody who stands up against them is at risk, unfortunately. So that's that. That's me having my say for now. I'll just give it a minute, see if you have any more questions, and then I'll end this live stream, and I'll be back later on. Forgot what the topic is for tonight's live stream, but I will continue to argue my case and discuss everything in a fair and unbiased manner. But more than anything, I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear your opinions and your thoughts and what your issues are wherever you are, whether in whichever part of the country you are. And if you are in and around Northampton, please feel free to get in touch. And hopefully at some point soon, once once I can get a few people together, then perhaps we can arrange monthly meetings, wherever that may be, to discuss everything from fielding candidates next year to campaigning to create awareness, to fighting back against the media and many other topics, because we need to be. Otherwise, if we just put everything on pause until the next election, then the momentum will come to an end and we'll have to start from a standing start once again. So I will look into your comments being deleted, and Miss Prim Proper, I will take a look. I don't know what's happened. I'm so sorry. And I will see you later on. Thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.